Hi, Amy.
Good evening. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Lisa. How are
There.
you?
Great. How are you doing, April?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing great.
Good. It feels like a while since we have had a 7 o'clock meeting.
Yeah, it does. How's the weather where you are, April?
It was beautiful today. Yeah, you know, these fall days are my favorite. So, you know, these days are, I think, you know, not enough to sustain me during the winter months for sure, but a nice reminder of how beautiful, you know, the Northwest is during the fall time. So how about you?
Also, it's been very nice. And, you know, we get plenty of sun here in the winter. We get some fog and we get a lot of sun, but it's colder. I think colder temperatures.
Yeah, it's a bit of a trade-off, isn't it? Sometimes I wonder if I would prefer like a really cold, clear day, or if I just prefer a mildly dreary gray day. Yeah. How are you doing, Paul?
Doing great. I'm loving this weather conversation. It got a lot deeper, a lot faster than I would have thought.
How are you, Paul?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing great too. How are you, Brady? Good to see you. All right, so it appears that we are all here. So I will begin. Good evening. I'm Sarah Augustine, Chair of the Washington State Redistricting Commission. I would like to call this meeting to order. To introduce the topics for discussion and action on our agenda this evening, I will reiterate our mandate. The mandate of the Commission set out in the Washington State Redistricting Act is to accomplish state legislative and congressional redistricting in accordance with the Washington State Constitution. The Bipartisan Commission was created to listen to the public every 10 years so that districts would be drawn by statute and with public input. The Commission takes this charge seriously. Should our process fail and another authority must create a redistricting plan for Washington, the input provided by the public in this process could be lost. Each commissioner was appointed to this commission. The 4 voting commissioners were appointed by the Democratic caucus in the House, the Republican caucus in the House, the Republican caucus in the Senate, or the Democratic caucus in the Senate, and I was appointed by the 4 voting commissioners. As chair of the commission, I will articulate and manage the commission's process. In my role as chair, I will ensure the process is as participatory, fair, and equitable as possible. The 4 voting commissioners have power and responsibility to vote, ultimately creating and adopting a redistricting plan. Voting commissioners will make decisions that will create maps to best represent the interests of Washingtonians. Those of you from the public joining us today, welcome. It is my goal to engage communities across Washington as fully as I can and to hear and address your concerns and requests. Throughout our tenure as commissioners, we will hear public comments that are important, ideas, requests, and injustices that may fall outside our ability to effectively respond. There are issues you may bring forward in your public comments that we may not be able to address. We can listen to you and be sure to capture your thoughts, questions, and requests. I will do my best to synthesize these and we will respond to them as we are able. We will certainly deliberate on the issues where we do have jurisdiction. Where we don't, I will do my best to refer you to those who may be able to respond more effectively. Together as a commission, we've agreed to the following values and mission: to provide an open, transparent, credible process that is grounded in statute and where all voices are welcome and there is access for everyone. To conduct ourselves with transparency, respect, and civility, where commissioners will participate and negotiate in good faith, and to meet the deadline outlined by law and to produce the best possible maps. I would now like to call roll Commissioner Paul Graves,
Present.
Commissioner Brady Walkinshaw,
Present.
Commissioner Joe Fain,
Present.
and Commissioner April Sims.
Present.
Before we begin our program, I would like to call for approval of meeting minutes for the meeting that was held last Monday. Oh dear, I have the wrong date here. Anyone want to remind me what last Monday was? On the 11th of October. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the motion passes. I would now like to invite our Executive Director, Lisa McLean, to provide an Executive Director update.
Thank you, Commissioner Augustine, and good evening, commissioners. To start off with, I wanted to go over the expense report that I sent you earlier today. We got our expense report today for September, and we can see that we spent $125,000 in the last month. That's a little bit higher than we have before, in the 2 months before now, but that's because of the fact that we had a heavy advertising budget, and with the publication of the maps and really pushing the public outreach, trying to promote those. That's why it was so expensive. I don't expect it to stay that expensive per month. So that we still have $1.3 million in the budget, and we spent a total of $300,000 over these last 3 months. Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none, I'll move on to our public outreach update. Given the fact that we spent all that money, we've actually had a great, extremely great outpouring of participation. Just to think about it, basically on our mapping tool, we have new users since the last meeting are 381 for a total of 900 users. Active plans are, since the last meeting, 321 for a total of 1,200 plans. Submitted plans are 30. And total plan comments. So when people go and stick a pin on a map and comment on that, that's a total of this evening, 1,900. I think there've been actually 200 comments since I got a report earlier today. Because when I went to check it, it was 1,900. So yeah. And then just in terms of written testimony, a total, I mean, the staff, we have a staff of 7. And last week, midweek last week, or I guess last week, there were actually 6 of us working on trying to organize the public comment into such a format that you all could somehow get through it. And I was just looking at that organization, and we have 2,600 comments there, which I don't think, since we're kind of behind still, I think we still got more to come. And what I thought was really interesting, just especially Commissioner Fain, you're always interested in schools. Today, I saw a bunch of them coming in, and they all had the same address of so-and-so at seattleacademy.org. So I think there was somebody giving a class today at the Seattle Academy about redistricting, and that caused a bunch of people to come on and give us some comments. So I think that's really been terrific stuff. And I'd really like to give thanks to the public outreach and communications team for everything they've done to sort of promote this incredibly inclusive process. Through that, let me just again give you some statistics here on YouTube. The videos that we show on YouTube, they have had a views since September, our meeting in September, 258,000 views, and there have been watch time has been 5,460 hours people have spent watching our videos. Nice, huh? Instagram, we've had a reach of 139,000, and the interactions of our Instagram posts has been 4,184. Facebook, we've had a reach of 294,000 with a post engagement of 37,000, which includes 16,000 that are clicking the link to get to the website. So what's our next steps? Our next steps are basically planning for November 15th. I would say one thing we've already kind of I gave the go ahead today for, I think we're gonna put out a thank you video. So our last animated video is gonna be a thank you and tell them what the next steps are. So thank you for your participation. We have maps. Maps have been submitted to the legislature, and this is what you should expect, so that people can, because I think there'll still be some reactions to the maps, and I want them to know where, who's going to be dealing with the maps after we approve them, after you approve them. That, and then the other thing we're thinking about, what we'd like to do is we'd like to create a press availability on the day after the 15th of November. And we will be in contact with your staffs to talk about how we can arrange that. What can we do? All the commission or part of the commission, or how would we do that? So that's my communications and public outreach update. Any questions, comments? Okay, seeing none. The other thing we spent a lot of time on in the last month has been thinking about November 15th. And what we're going to do, we've gotten very clear clarification as to what legally we need to do to submit the plan to the legislature. And we know it's the transmittal letter. We know it's the resolution, and we'll talk about the resolution a little bit more later. And then it's the shapefile of the congressional district plan, the shapefile of the legislative district plan, and then a description, a written description of those districts. So each district will be block, the number of the block, the tract, the census tract, and everything that's just written in this really boring language. So that's what we have to get over to the legislature by the evening of November 15th. And then we are working ourselves on, we will begin immediately to produce the report, which is basically both a print version of each district as agreed, and then the kind of the demographics that go with that in terms of race data, but also the deviation and the full population of that district, the deviation from the target thing, and then race data. And then we also have to include by law a cost estimate from the county auditors about how much it's going to cost for them to re-precinct. So all of this is going to be kind of packaged into a report that we will have ready for printing, hopefully, according to the plan, by that Friday. The printed copies will be ready by Friday the 19th. Okay, and we expect that we can put it up on the website, the report, the plan, each individual district and map up by Wednesday, the 17th of November, which again, legally is our responsibility to also deliver a plan to the legislature and publish it for the public. So that's what we're going to do. So that's we've had some really good meetings about that and gone through who's doing what and how's that going to happen, and so everything's set there. So we're all ready. And I think that's. Does anybody have any questions about that? Seeing none. The last thing I'll say is just wanted to comment in the event that you're interested. If you, according to RCW 4405080, paragraph 8, we actually have responsibility to redistrict for Spokane County should it not be able to come to an agreement. And that agreement must be reached by October 23rd. There was an article on Thursday that seemed to indicate that they were somewhat at an impasse, but then there was an article on Friday that says that they've made progress in that. And I think that they are going to come to a, I think this will not have to come to us because I think they are going to come to an agreement. They have come to an agreement. They just need to vote on that agreement. That vote will take place sometime this week. And when that vote takes place, then it's off our plate as a responsibility that will come to us. If it were to come to us, we would still have 60 days to deal with it. So we're not going to have to be, it doesn't have to add into the November 15th deadline. So that is, I think, everything that I have to say about what the executive director and the staff is up to. Any questions?
Yes, Lisa, I wonder if you would be willing to give us an update on how it's going in Spokane at our next meeting.
Yes, sure.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. Of course, many of us are reading that day by day, but it's always good to raise it in this meeting so that we can discuss it if we need to. All right. Let's move on to the discussion. So this evening, I hope that we can discuss the draft resolution. We sent that language to you last week. And of course, we talked about it in our last meeting on the 18th of September. And so I wonder if you've had a chance to take a look at that draft language. As part of this transmission of the agreed upon maps and plan to the legislature on November 15, we'll need to provide a resolution to each of the 4 leaders in the legislature. And we hope to take action on the resolution language this evening, if that's appropriate. So if you, I guess I would just like to ask if you have comments or questions about the updated draft. This was also posted in the packet, I believe, for the public. Is that right, Lisa?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want me to go? Do you want me to give a brief introduction to the resolution, what we did to the paper?
Sure.
In response to, especially because Commissioners Graves and Commissioner Fain raised some issues last time. I think that we did talk to the Attorney General. We got some advice. I think we've all seen it. Is, as you know, Commissioner Graves, the 8th paragraph on severability, that was judged to be standard language and something that was okay. I think the Commissioner Fain's question was about the last paragraph, which is no longer there, which basically talks about what the county auditor is going to do. That the county, and I appreciate the fact that you asked the question. We got to drill down into it. Even the advice we got from the Attorney General didn't really address that issue. But when we kind of drilled into it and really looked at it very carefully, it says, the 9th, for the purposes of this plan, districts shall be described in terms of. And I think that you're absolutely right to ask that question. Well, then why are we giving the county auditor some leeway to sort of change things? And I think we don't think we need to. So we've taken out that paragraph and we took out the paragraph before, because the paragraph before was also kind of talking about corrections. And if you're going to approve a plan, if there's a correction that needs to be made, then the legislature should do that. But basically, what are we going to do? We're going to describe, as I explained before with the report, we're going to describe it in terms of tracks and block groups and everything. So the 4 paragraphs that are here are actually describing what we will describe in our plan, in your plan. And that's, I think, is limited to it. And I think it's basically that we might have had those last time because of the way, as I explained last meeting, is just because of the complication with the geographies that don't exist anymore. And I think the other important thing, we had an interesting meeting too. The other thing in the resolution, I think is important about this resolution, is we have these blanks in the resolution, which what we need to do is we need to plop in there the file name, the shape file that we send over there. And we need to set, so if today you all have a shape file that you give me and we call that version 1, and then we keep working on it, and that's version 2 and version 5 and version 6. Basically, the night of the day we agree on this, right, is basically that is going to be agreeing on what file do you authorize us to send to because that's the agreed upon plan, and that's what we're going to plop in there. So that's the importance also of this resolution, that for you to say that the 4 of you agreed that it's this file version, that not this other version. It's going to be called this, and that's the file that they should have at the legislature, and they should consider to be the plan, if that makes sense.
So a question that I have for you commissioners is if you would like to take action on this, or if you want to just say, you know, this language looks fine and we're really not going to approve it until November 15 when we plop that file name in there. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah, please, Commissioner Graves.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair. That's exactly what I was going to say, because I don't know if we could. I mean, I'd be happy to say that I'm comfortable with the form of this here, and I think we got our questions asked that we had it last time, but I think for the actual approval of it, we'll hopefully get that done on November 15th.
Great. Commissioner Walkinshaw.
I agree with what Commissioner Graves shared. I don't have any issues with it, but agree with what he added. This sounds good. So thank you for bringing it forward.
Okay, great. Commissioner Sims, any comments or questions?
I'm good with the plan to approve it on the 15th.
Terrific. Commissioner Fain.
Looks good. Thanks for doing all that follow-up work. Appreciate it.
You bet. We want to make sure that it's right. And thanks to Lisa and her team for really investigating this and making sure that we have all our I's dotted and our T's crossed for the 15th. And so I am then going to say that we don't have an item for action this evening. So with that, that concludes our discussion section, and we move on to public comment. So since our last public outreach meeting on October 4th, we've continued to receive on average between 50 and 100 comments per day. So gone are the days where I summarized what happened from week to week, because there are so many comments. It would just take an hour for me to summarize everything that we've received. So I'm doing a very high level summary. Most of the comments have occurred via one of our online options, such as directly commenting on the draft commission maps on the My Districting tool, by emailing the commission directly, or by using the public comment forum on the website. And please continue to use whatever method is easiest for you to convey your ideas, folks from the public. There are a few topics that have received a larger portion of the public comment, and I'm going to summarize those. We've received hundreds of comments about the concept of competitiveness and which districts should be electorally competitive. For congressional districts, the 9th congressional district and its minority population percentage continues to generate significant discussion. For legislative districts, there are 3 areas that have drawn a majority of the comments. First, Bainbridge Island, the city of Bremerton, and Kitsap County have continued to draw lengthy discussion, as they have throughout our entire process. Second, the North Central Washington areas of Okanagan, Chelan, Douglas, and Grant counties have received significantly more comments since the unveiling of the commissioner's draft maps. Third, there continues to be a great deal of commentary about which legislative districts San Juan County should be located in and which surrounding areas should be included in that district. The subject of most of the comments we are currently receiving are the draft maps released by the commissioners in late September. There are a larger number of comments on the commissioner's legislative district maps compared to the quantity of comments on the draft congressional district maps. Still, even since October 4th, we've received comments on nearly every single district and area of our state. These comments continue to be an invaluable tool throughout this process, and we appreciate all the efforts that the public has made to participate in this process. I look forward to hearing further comment this evening. I would now like to move into the period for public comment. You're always welcome to sign up for the public comment period. We have 7 individuals who have registered to make a public comment this evening, and each speaker will be assigned 2 minutes. Tonight, our tech support specialist, Sean Murray, will facilitate public comment. Sean will call your name, at which time your status in Zoom will change from observer to panelist. When Sean calls your name, you will have 2 minutes to speak. A countdown clock will appear on your screen, and at the end of your allotted time, you will be muted. We realize that 2 minutes is a very brief time in which to share your comments, and we are interested in what you have to say and urge you to send your written comments to us via the following email address: comment@redistricting.wa.gov. Sean.
Good evening, commissioners. We have 2 individuals who have entered the meeting tonight to testify. It looks like one has disconnected. The one individual we do have in the panelist section to testify is Harold. Harold, if you can please unmute, turn your video on, and please begin your testimony.
Okay, I have no idea. I'm going to get through these notes in 2 minutes. I'm Harold Hansen. Lee is what I go by. 3rd Congressional District, LD 17, PCO 622. I like to Walkinshaw's congressional map is the best. It needs some work. Paul Graves is the best for the LDs. It needs some work. We got to make sure it's right. And I really would appreciate the adjustments to be addressed as individual LDs and congressionals. So if we can take them time, there's only 10. You guys know the numbers. I'm trying to think of, all right, Klickitat and Skamania County is part of 3rd District now and has been for a long time, and they want to stay there. If I am wrong, you need to address them and have them input. That north end of the projected 3rd District doesn't work. It could be traded for this Skamania and Klickitat if they want to. I want you guys to address the individual congressional districts one at a time, and then work on the LDs individually with that approach. I think that's the only way to do it right. I think the Yakima Nation has something to say about the southeast portion of our county. But I think that you need to, instead of wholesaling the previous 2010 congressional district map, you should just nip around the edges. And I'm not worried about gerrymandering. I'm worried about, people in Klickitat don't want to go to Rochester to get their groceries. So, take that into consideration and listen to the individual.
I'm very sorry, Harold, that your time has elapsed, but we do want to see your full comment. If you would be willing to send it to us via email, it looks like you have notes there. You can send your notes as is, and we will be glad to make sure that all the commissioners view them and their staff. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us this evening. Sean?
Yes, Chair. Our other individual does look like they have disconnected, but just in case, Andrea, if you were trying to testify, if you can please write in your full comments to comment@redistricting.wa.gov, and we'd be certainly happy to look over those. And that will be the last testifier of today's meeting, Chair.
Give me their minutes.
So I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Harold, for your request. And we work hard to make sure that it's equitable and that no person gets any more time than any other person. But I will ask the commissioners if you want to hear additional testimony from Harold. Okay, Harold, then I ask that you would submit your notes to us in writing, and that's probably the best way for you to transmit your full comments. And once again, it's not necessary. They don't have to be pretty. Send them to us and we'll make sure that they are circulated. And
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, so I want to thank you, commissioners, for your service, your time, and your attention tonight. And not just tonight. I recognize this is a 7-day job, and I appreciate you and your service. I recognize that this especially is a time where we're all under pressure, and I appreciate you and your willingness to do this important work on behalf of all Washingtonians. To members of the public who have taken the time to join us, both here and on CCTV, thank you. Thank you to staff who have helped to prepare the commissioners for this meeting, including Lisa McLean, our executive director. John Murray provided tech support. Maria Garza provided admin support, including taking minutes. Special thanks to our Spanish language interpreters who joined us this evening, and our American Sign Language interpreters who supported viewers on our Facebook page for interpretation services tonight.